Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for the 29th of July. This is the first one I'm recording since before I went away, as yesterday's was pre recorded to make sure that there was a video up and running when I came back to work. So today I am back at work, and my desk, which was clean, is now, oh, it's the dog's breakfast. It looks pretty bad. But I just wanted to, it just means I'm back into it, right? Back into work. I wanted to talk to you today about how things change, our perspectives change. Um, One of the things, I'm going to be quite upfront, if any of you are from Illinois or Indiana, I apologize now because I'm a little grumpy with your states, not for anything that you've done. Um, as you may know, if you've been watching, I was gone mid to late June at a clergy conference in beautiful Gimli, Manitoba. And then we were driving from Manitoba to Ontario so I could go back to my parish where I was baptized, where my mom grew up, where my aunts and uncles go to church, so I could preach and preside and celebrate as a bishop for the first time there. The plan was to be there on Sunday. Well, we left Gimli on Friday, and we hit the States on Friday evening. And on Saturday, we were up and had breakfast at our favorite restaurant, the Cracker Barrel. We try to find them whenever we travel through the States because we just love them. Um, and we were about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We were traveling down the I-90 or the I-94 or something. Just came out of Illinois and into Indiana about 5 miles in, and it was stop and start traffic, Saturday afternoon, really hot day. People are anxious to get where they're going. Um, People in front of us all of a sudden slammed on their brakes, and Rob slammed on his, no problem. By the time we were able to look up from him putting his brakes on, and thank God we hadn't hit them, they were gone. There was nobody in front of us. But just as he was about to put his foot on the accelerator and go, we were hit from behind. We were hit by a young woman who from Illinois in an F-150. We were driving a Ford Maverick, which is a truck, but in comparison to an F-150, it looks like an ant. Um, Needless to say, the truck is still in Indiana. It's being fixed because we have provincial insurance and they're taking their time. But we were stuck in Indiana on the I-90 or I-94, wondering what had happened. I got a slight cut on my ankle and didn't even realize until a paramedic was wrapping it in gauze because I was more worried about Rob, who had been driving and who did absolutely everything right. If he'd done anything differently, we would have been hit, and our rear end would have been hit on an angle, and I would have been spun probably into the second lane of traffic. We were on the inside lane, and they weren't slowing down, and I would have been toast. Probably he would have been too, but he didn't do anything. He just went straight ahead. There was nobody in front of us, with his foot on the brake, and they hit us hard enough that they pushed our truck a good 30 feet um, ahead in that laneway. So thanks be to God, the people who had come to a sudden stop in front of us had managed to get away before we got hit, or else we would have been the sandwich between a couple of big vehicles. But we were okay. The paramedics, that my phone has an automatic. If you have an Apple iPhone, one of the gifts of that is it has an emergency thing. All of a sudden, we heard someone saying, "Do not panic. You have been in an accident. 911 is being called." And we could hear this voice, this disembodied voice that was my phone, talking to a 911 operator somewhere who was then figuring out where we were from our GPS on our phone and contacting the Indiana State Police, their 911 operator, who talked us through the whole thing. Rob was able to get out of the car. He got out of the car for a minute and came back and sat down back in the car, put his seatbelt back on because we're worried we might get hit again. Um, and he was in shock, of course, and they took him to the hospital. The paramedics arrived. They were great. The only problem is that they took our car key fob for the truck, to give to the tow truck driver, and it was never given to him. So we are out of pocket for a key and had to wait until we got back to Ontario, or to where we live, Manitoba, in order to get the key, the spare key sent down to Indiana. The tow truck driver who got the truck and took it without a key and got it winched up on his truck was absolutely phenomenal. A late Saturday afternoon, and he came and he He grabbed the truck and then came and opened up his garage so that we could get all of our stuff out of our truck, thinking that it was totaled. The rear end of the truck was bent underneath the end of the truck. It was a mess. We were very, very fortunate that we weren't hurt. He had a friend who was willing to drive us the an international airport in Chicago, not O'Hare, but there's another one. And because there were no after Saturday afternoon on a Saturday in the summer, there were no cars. There were no rental cars available. So she drove us 75 miles to the or not 75 miles. We paid her $75. She took us to the airport in Chicago, and she was amazing. She just kept saying to us, "You can't. There's only one Rob and Rachel. You can't replace a Rob and Rachel. A truck you can replace." And she played Christian music, and she praised Jesus that we were okay the whole time we were on the way there. She drove up the wrong way to make sure we got into the into the car rental agency at the airport. She was just she was an angel in disguise. She was a blessing. We went in. They told us we couldn't rent a car that because we're picking it up in one place and needed to drop it off in Winnipeg, and they didn't have any that you could do that with. So I went online and booked it online, and then we could do that to the tune of a lot of money because if you've never done that before, if you rent a car, you want to take it back to where you picked it up because it was a fortune. But you know what? We needed it because we had to get to Ontario for my general synod and then the rest of our the time we had. All of our hotels were booked and paid for. We couldn't do anything. So we did have to call ahead and let the folks up in Durham, Ontario know that we weren't going to make it and decided just to go straight to London in the next day to where my meetings were being held, where my family lives, where General Synod was. So we got a rental car and they upgraded us to a bigger car so it fit all of our stuff because we were carrying all of my vestments. We had enough clothes for almost a month on the road. We had all kinds of books and things that we had to bring with us, tools we needed, things I needed for General Synod. It was pretty wild, but we had this Toyota Camry, which was great, and we just drove. I told my husband, we can't stay in Indiana. I can't stay here. So we got a hotel in Michigan. We got in at 12:30 in the morning and they were fantastic for us. And we got up at 8 in the morning and took off again. But I got to tell you, we had to drive past the crash site to get out of Indiana. And I hadn't realized how upset I was. Just got a shout out to the Methodist Hospital in Gary, Indiana. They were superb, amazing, incredible people. They called Veterans Affairs for us by tracking them down through American Veteran Affairs. Like people bent over backwards to help us. Except for the woman who hit us, she and her friend were on their phones texting, apparently when they hit us, and they didn't see the traffic had stopped. So they were hit. They hit us at probably close to 70 miles per hour. It was pretty scary, but at the same time, we met the most incredible people. We met people who were willing to go out of their way for us on a weekend, on a Saturday night. We met the most kind and generous people when we were checking into the hotel in Michigan, in I think it was called Niles, Michigan. And I was waiting. There was a young man at the desk, and he wanted some extra pillows and blankets and things like that for his room. And he just turned around as she went to go get them, asked me how I was doing, where we were from. I explained. He said, "What are you doing traveling this late?" I told what happened. He said, "I am so sorry, ma'am. I am from Indiana, and that is not who we are." he was so he just was felt so bad that my experience of Indiana was that he just apologized for everybody and told us to come back sometime, and he knew that the people of Indiana would treat us really well, and the fact is that they did. But the state trooper, the paramedics, the tow truck driver, the lady who drove us to the airport, everybody was phenomenal. The hospital staff, absolutely phenomenal. It did throw us for a loop. We had to adapt and figure things out. But it allowed us some time also to start thinking about the things that are important. So one of the things that we did, that we talked about and on our trip, was we talked about Dude, our old dog, and we talked about how important it is that we might get a new dog. Because you know what? I didn't really see my life flash in front of my eyes, but I was certainly shaken up enough that I got thinking about what's important. And so the perspective of everything that happened, learning that it's okay. I can't feel guilty about not being able to get to Durham for that church service, but at least we can do this and we can spend the several grand on a car rental because we have to. We're stranded. We have no place to go and we don't know anybody in Indiana. We got to go. We might as well have the rest of our time. I got to go to Synod, have our holiday time. We'll deal when time comes. But one of the decisions we made was that we would adopt a rescue when we got home, and we did. This is Skunk. And no, I'm not changing her name. Skunk is a mixed collie breed. We don't know exactly what the mix is, but she is one of a litter of that they nicknamed the critter litter. So her siblings were groundhog and gopher and shrew and skunk. So Skunk has lived with us for almost 2 weeks. She is smart as a whip. She's almost 12 weeks old. And she has got the little shark teeth going on as a puppy. She's a beautiful little thing. And I'm so glad because she's bringing us back. She's reminding Rob and I of the importance of life and the importance of accept, expect, ex, accepting every moment and living in that moment. When you live with a puppy, I don't know for sure, but I think it's like living with a baby or a child. You have to be in the moment. You can't not be in that moment. Because if you are, this little skunk will get into everything. And she also needs to go outside lots, and she's get trained really well. She's learned to go outside for her potty stuff, and she waits for her food. We've taught her that. She's come a long way in 2 weeks. So that is Skunk. She can never replace Dude, but she has created a new place in my heart and Rob's that reminds us that regardless of what happens, we have someone to live for. But we also have a reminder that when we have something to love in life, that's what we need to focus on, not the bad stuff. So today I give thanks for the tow truck driver and the state trooper and the paramedics and the lady who drove us to the airport and the hotel, the hospital staff and the kid at the hotel and all of the people who helped us to get through what was a really, really difficult time. And to Skunk, because she's reminding me that there's more to life than what's right in front of my eyes. I need to pay attention and count my blessings. So I'm not sure I'm ever wanting to go back to either Illinois or Indiana, but that'll change. For now, I'm just grateful for Skunk. I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful I have the job that I have. I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel. God bless you, and God bless you. It's good to see you.